First off, yeah, it's in pouring smoke, and I still don't know where from. It seems like it might be from one of the valve covers or something like that, because it's kind of black down there on the bottom, like that little heat shield where the wires are. But I mean, it has just gotten worse and worse and worse. And then, like, you take, pop open the crankcase, and you got a lot more of that going on, and it doesn't really smell like anything other than oil. So, but yeah, it's been pouring out, and it's, it got worse. It's having more and more trouble maintaining oil pressure. So that's when that noise came, because I stopped, and it was like, stop engine oil pressure, and I was like, oh shit, and then bitch just cut off, and I was like, fuck, did I blow it? But it started back up. So this is what it sounds like when it started. A lot like a diesel.
So naturally, the first thing I did was take out the dipstick, see if it's metallic. It was not. Then I decided to take off the top end so that I could inspect underneath the intakes, and then perhaps, if it's valve cover leak or whatever. Got into it. Obviously, cylinder number 7 and a couple other ones were leaking quite a bit, and the back of the valve cover was leaking as well. I also discovered that the NOx sensors were in awful shape, and the intake gaskets were not terrible, but I went underneath, and this is what I found.
This looks just like the paint. It's so not good. Tiny, tiny, tiny flakes. Tiny flakes. But look at that, and then look at this. Tell me they don't look like the same color as the car. It's okay. So I got the oil pan off, and the first thing I'm greeted by is this 13 millimeter nut and a 10 millimeter bolt.
And this guy who...
That's fine. That's fine. Where did they come from? Let's look in here. Upon first inspection, I don't really see exactly where it would have come from, but then I start looking around, and I look up at the top of this little barrier guy, and it is a very light grayish type of color going on up there. I can't quite capture that. I'm gonna take this off and see behind it, because this shit up here, though you can't see it, I dip my finger in it, it comes out as like almost like a paste, like it's like a finely ground metal is what that appears to be. So yeah, I'm gonna pull that off and see what happens. It's also worth noting, as I just noticed, I'm about to take this guy off, and I see that this is there. That's also not a good sign. The next thing we're gonna do is pull it off together, and we're gonna see what's under here. Nothing immediately jumps out, but that slack, not cool. In fact, this whole joint moves a lot. So it would appear to me that these guys came from this, because this ain't supposed to move. And the fact that it can is not particularly a good thing. So it looks like this was, yeah, I mean, based on the way it was running, that makes sense. It looks like it was inadequately performed. Especially if this was allowed to move fore and aft. Because actually, I think the adjustment for that is right there where my finger's at. I think that's where that bolt came from, because that's where it mounts to the block at, and it is, well, not mounted to the block. There's one nut right there. There is where a nut is not. Awesome. And now that some of the oil has receded from the oil pan, this is actually right up toward the back, and you got some bigger chunks down there. So that would indicate to me that the rod bearings are probably just not having a good time. All in all, this baby's got to come out, which is unfortunate. It is. I didn't really foresee, that on the schedule between that V12 and the other E38. Really didn't want to do that, but here we are. So out this comes.